I never thought I'd be the kind of man who froze in public, heart pounding because of something he saw across a crowded room. But that's exactly what happened the night I saw my wife in another man's arms. Not metaphorically. Not emotionally. Literally. His hands were on her waist. Her head was resting against his chest. And the way she stood there comfortable. Familiar told me this wasn't new. My name is Ethan Hall. I'm 39. I've been married to Clara for 11 years. Or at least, I thought I was. That night, I'd left work early to surprise her. Clara had been distant for months. Not cruel, not openly cold, just absent, short replies, polite smiles, a kind of emotional withdrawal that's hard to accuse but impossible to ignore. I told myself she was tired, overworked, life stuff. I kept believing that, because believing anything else felt like betrayal. I followed her location to a small art gallery downtown. She'd said she was attending a networking thing. I stood outside for a moment, debating whether to go in or turn around like a coward. I went in. That's when I saw her. Soft lighting, low music. And Clara, wrapped in someone else's comfort like it belonged to her. If this moment already feels familiar to you, take a second and hit like. It helps this story reach people who might be living the same quiet confusion. I didn't confront her. I didn't storm over. I just stood there, watching my marriage collapse in real time. The man later I'd learn his name was Julian leaned down and whispered something that made her laugh. Not the polite laugh she'd been giving me for months. The real one. The one that used to be mine. I walked out before she saw me. Sat in my car for nearly an hour, hands locked on the steering wheel, replaying every ignored text, every late night, every time she flinched when I reached for her in bed. Suddenly, all of it made sense. At home, I waited. When she finally came in, she looked startled to see me awake. "You're home early," she said, like that was the problem. I asked her one question. "Who's Julian?" Her face changed not. Guilt exactly. More like relief mixed with annoyance. She sighed and said, "I didn't plan for you to find out like this." That sentence told me everything. She admitted she'd been seeing him for a few months. Not an affair, she said. An emotional connection. She explained it calmly, like she was describing a hobby she'd picked up. Told me she hadn't been happy for a long time, that she felt seen with him. I asked her why she didn't just leave. She looked at me and said, "Because I didn't want to hurt you." If you've ever heard that line, tell me in the comments. Does it sound like kindness? Or control? That night, I slept on the couch, or at least I tried to. My mind wouldn't shut up. Every memory felt tainted now. Our trips. Our inside jokes. Even the way she used to say my name. I realized something terrifying. I had been loyal to a version of my marriage that no longer existed. The next morning, Clara acted almost normal. Made coffee. Asked if I wanted toast. It was surreal. Like we were roommates, pretending nothing had cracked open between us. I went to work, but I didn't get anything done. I kept thinking about how calm she'd been, how prepared. Like she'd already grieved us before I even knew we were dying. That evening, she sat me down and said she needed space to think. She wanted to stay with a friend for a while. I nodded, helped her pack, folded her clothes with the same hands that once held her like she was home. When she left, the house felt hollow. Not sad, empty, like the echo after a door closes for the last time. Type the word clarity in the comments if you believe emotional cheating hurts just as deeply as physical betrayal. For days, I told no one. Not my parents, not my friends. There's a special shame that comes with being replaced quietly. No screaming. No dramatic exit. Just the slow realization that someone chose another life. while you were still standing guard over the old one. Then, 3 days later, my phone buzzed. A message from a number I didn't recognize. It said, "Ethan, this is Julian. We need to talk. Before the story turns, consider sharing this with someone who believes silence can't break a marriage. Sometimes it does more damage than words." Ever could. I stared at the screen, heart racing, thinking this was it. The confirmation. The final humiliation. But what Julian said next was something I never saw coming. I didn't reply to Julian right away. I set the phone down like it might burn me. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Another part wanted answers I wasn't sure I could handle. After 10 minutes of staring at the wall, I typed back one word. Why? His response came fast. Because. You deserve the truth. And because I just found out, I wasn't getting it either. That stopped me cold. We met the next afternoon at a quiet cafe near the river. Julian was younger than me, early 30s maybe, with the kind of nervous energy people have when they're in over their heads. He didn't look like a villain. He looked confused. He didn't waste time. He told me Clara had said our marriage was already over when they met, that we were basically separated, that she stayed because it was complicated, because of finances, because she didn't want to rush anything. He believed her. Until 2 nights ago, when she told him she needed to pause things because I was asking questions. She never said she loved me, he added quickly. She leaned on me like someone who was already gone from home. I listened without interrupting. Something strange happened as he spoke. The anger I expected never arrived. Instead, there was a dull clarity settling in. Not rage, not heartbreak. Understanding. Julian leaned forward and said, "I'm stepping away. Not because of you. Because I don't want to be someone's escape plan." When I left that cafe, I didn't feel defeated. I felt finished. Like the last loose thread had finally been cut. That night, Clara came home unexpectedly. No bags, no warning. She stood in the doorway like someone returning to a place that no longer belonged to her. She said my name softly, the way she used to when she wanted forgiveness before asking for it. "I made a mistake," she said. "Julian ended things." I didn't realize what I was throwing away. I looked at her and waited. For guilt. For tears. For accountability. What I heard instead was fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of losing comfort. Fear of consequences. I asked her a simple question. If he hadn't walked away, would you be standing here right now? She didn't answer. That silence told me everything. At this point in the story, I want you to comment. Should trust be rebuilt after emotional betrayal? Or does the timing of regret matter more? Let's talk about it. I told her I'd already spoken to Julian. Her eyes widened just for a second. Not because she was hurt, because her version of the story no longer worked. She tried to explain herself. Loneliness, feeling unseen, losing herself. I didn't interrupt. When she finished, I said calmly, "You didn't lose yourself. You lost honesty." I told her. I wasn't angry, and that confused her more than if I'd yelled. I explained that love doesn't disappear overnight. It erodes when one person keeps choosing silence over truth. I thought our marriage was over, I said. Not because you were in another man's arms, but because you came back only when there was nowhere else to land. She cried then. Real tears. Too late. I didn't ask her to leave that night. I didn't need to. I asked her to give me space to decide what my life looked like without negotiating my worth. The next morning, she packed again. This time, there was no drama, no promises. Just the quiet acceptance that some doors close not with a slam, but with a sigh. Weeks passed. The house felt different, lighter, lonely, sometimes, but honest. I started sleeping better. thinking, clearer. I stopped replaying moments, stopped wondering where I went wrong. Some endings don't need blame. They need boundaries. One evening, I found a note she'd left behind. It said, "I hope someday you understand I never meant to hurt you." I folded it once and put it away. Understanding wasn't the problem. Respect was. If this story stirred something in you, share it with someone who's confusing comfort with. Commitment. Sometimes perspective saves years. I don't know what Clara is doing now. I don't check. I don't need to. What I know is this. Watching her in another man's arms felt like the end of my marriage. But seeing her come back only after losing him, that was the beginning of my self-respect. Some people don't leave when they're unhappy. They leave when staying no longer benefits them. And some returns aren't about love. They're about fear. I didn't win. I didn't lose. I chose clarity over comfort. Final question for you. Would you have let her stay? Or was walking away the only real choice? Comment your answer. And if stories like this matter to you, like, subscribe, and stay with us for more real human stories that don't look away from the truth.